Hi, everyone. I'm Sarah Moon, she, her pronouns, a modern classroom expert mentor, and elementary instructional coach and interventionist here in Durham, North Carolina.
And I am Monty, she, her pronouns. I am a middle school science teacher, modern classrooms mentor, and I currently live in Atlanta, Georgia. Before we dive into today's topic, I really just want to take the time to celebrate our Facebook group. Like, y'all are amazing. I love all the posts and the questions and the celebrations, and being around since the beginning is just a tremendous thing to see the group go from, the 80 that we started off with to 10,000. For those of you that are new to our Facebook group, first, I'd like to say welcome. I also might be a little biased, but I think that, our group is the best group on Facebook. So if your friends aren't a part of it, you should spread the word and tell them to come join our group because we're the best. And in case, especially for those of you that are new, we do celebrate 2 members every week. They get a sticker, and we celebrate a member of the month who gets a free t-shirt. And so if you're really looking for some of that modern classroom swag, because it's no longer being sold, it's only given through things like this, then we encourage you to be engaged and, ask questions, share resources, all of that. But we just want to say thank you to everyone and keep contributing. So Sarah, let's go ahead and move into today's topic.
Absolutely. So today's episode, we're going to be wrapping up season 1 of our show. It's already been 11 episodes. No, we did not necessarily plan for season 1 to have 11 episodes, but I am glad that that is how it worked out, because after nearly 1 year of us doing this, we've loved every single 1 minute. That was one too many ones. But we are going to be wrapping up season 1, talking about all of our celebrations, reflections, and looking ahead. We have so many celebrations. Just like Monty said, we started off at 80, and now we have over 10,000 members in our community, which is just insane, especially because those members are from all over the globe. We now have weekly and monthly events. We have those audio rooms that we would love for you to go ahead and join. Those are typically the second Wednesday of every single month, being able to chat with our community about all things MCP. We also have 2 new hosts, myself and Tavia, who will be back for season 2. We had the pleasure of joining Monty and Tony Rose, who started off this Keeping Up with Modern Classrooms. And like I said, we have had 10 episodes, with this one being the 11th, and that has led to 1 incredible season. And just through it all, the Facebook group has been such an opportunity to connect and grow and learn. And this is a great time to shout out Monty's spreadsheet, such an opportunity to learn from there and celebrate with other like-minded educators.
But in all seriousness, check out that spreadsheet. I work super hard on it. And I try to update it every week, if possible. And I really hope that it ends up being a useful resource. The group has been around for a little over 2 years now, and we have hundreds, maybe thousands, I don't know, of posts. And I know for a new person, it is truly overwhelming to see that many posts. So please take some time to go through it. And I'm always looking for feedback on how I can make it better. I try to keep it organized, but I organize it based on how my brain works, which may not work for other people. So if you're new or a returning person in the group and you find yourself looking at the spreadsheet over the next couple of days, please send me some feedback on how it can be better. And if you think that it's the best possible thing, I'd love to hear that as well. It's a very awkward pause. I'm so sorry. What am I supposed to be saying? If you're new and think you'll miss. Oh, yes, that's what I'm supposed to be saying. Also, if you're new or you've just been in the group for a while and you think that you'll miss us over the next couple of months, we encourage you to go back and rewatch some of our earlier shows, because as Sarah has said multiple times, we've had 10 episodes. Episode 1 was about planning your unit 0. That was a fun episode. And episode 2, we talked a little bit about equity. And in episode 3, we talked about classroom design. So, kind of talking about what the beginning of the year could look like. Episode 4, we talked about how do we keep that learning continuous. Episode 5, we talked about keeping it spicy. What was that one about, Sarah? Can you remind me? What was episode 5 about? Were you there?
I was there. And sorry, friends, if you hear my dogs in the background, they are just shouting out how great Keeping Up with Modern Classrooms is. Keeping it spicy was actually my idea, Monty, because you remember we were talking about how to keep it interesting. And then I was like, let's eat hot wings on it.
Yes.
And friends that have watched the show, you may have noticed I was the only one eating wings on it because Monty let me down and she did not get her hot wings. But keeping it spicy, we know how to keep learning continuous, how we can make sure that students are always having access to that equitable instruction, but then how can we also make sure that we're keeping it spicy, that we're keeping it interesting as well.
Yes. So that was episode number 5.
That was number 5.
6 was keeping it 6. Episode 6 was reflecting on 2021. Episode 7 was about self-paced structures. That's the super important one for my people that are new to self-pacing. Episode 8 was our progress trackers. So, we answered all questions, progress trackers. So you should watch that one. Lesson 9 was about, our lesson classifications, our should do, must do, aspire to do. And episode 10, which we just recently filmed last month, was about grading in the modern classroom. So we have covered a lot over 10 episodes, and I don't truly know what we'll do differently next season, but I'm happy to be back. And and we have 4,500 views. So next year when we're doing this recap for season 2, I want to be able to say more than 4,500 views. So watch us. We're hilarious, we're great, we're funny, and we love doing this for you.
Exactly. And so, friends, how we went from 80 to 10,000 members, we want to do the same thing with the views, because Monty and I, we love MCP, but we'd also like to be YouTube stars. That is our ultimate goal. And speaking about ways that we can go ahead and view and interact with one another, we'd also love to have over 4,500 views of our audio rooms. Audio rooms is something new that we have implemented maybe for like the last 2-3 months. If you've never been to a Facebook audio room, please go ahead and join us the next time around. It's a great kind of like a live podcast sort of thing. You'll be able to join in the moment to hear us talk, to hear myself and implementers and whoever else is joining talk about all things MCP. You'll also be able to listen to it later. You can kind of listen to it just like you would a podcast. Definitely let us know in the comments if there's any things that you'd like to see in particular for the audio rooms, or if they is anything that you would really like to share in the audio rooms. We're always looking for people to join us as well. All right, so as always, we will end with some questions because we've been able to reflect.
Wait.
Oh, sorry, we have one more reflection.
Yeah, I got to talk about members of the week. My bad. I'm so sorry. Well, what was the last sentence you said?
We have one more reflection.
Oh,
drum roll, please.
Right. In addition to the audio rooms, which Sarah does, Tavia is really great about making sure that she posts an article of the week. So if you haven't ever taken the time to read that article of the week, she spends a lot of time finding them. And she posts questions and whatnot. So if you ever have capacity and you find that you're just wanting to follow along with, things in the education community, I'd really recommend reading one of those articles and engaging with one of Tavia's posts. In addition to that, my role really is about engaging our, newest folks. So I do a welcome post every Saturday morning or evening, or sometimes on Sunday because I forget, where I welcome our newest members to the group. I ask them to tell us where they're from and, how they found the group and whatnot. So for those of you that have been in the group for a while, if you ever find yourself seeing that welcome post, I really love it if you can pop in and just welcome some of our newest Facebook members. And in addition to that, I also am in charge of doing our member of the week. So every Tuesday, I do shout out to members of the week, and those members of the week, once again, are chosen based on engagement. So we do the highest engagement. And we always try, and not always, our members of the week are always new members. So we don't use the same members ever. So you might, have a member who has been, super engaged, but you only get to be member of the week once because we want to make sure to share the wealth. And at the end of the month, we do shout out a member of the month, and that's always an exciting time. Absolutely. Back to you, Sarah.
Back to me. Thanks, Monty. So as always, we're going to end with some questions, and we're really going to take this opportunity when I was looking through the Facebook community to think about looking ahead, right? Because a lot of times at the end of the school year, we are not only looking back on all that we've accomplished during the school year, but we're also thinking about that next step, right? And so these are some commonly asked questions from our Facebook community revolving around looking ahead. And so one of the ones that we see a lot, whether that be at the end of the school year, in the middle of the school year, is my school is adopting a totally new curriculum. Should I just start over? And I think a lot of times this one brings up a lot of anxiety, a lot of stress, right? Because it's like, man, I've created all of this great curriculum. We are on a roll. And then okay, we got to do it all over again, right? Maybe we have a new program, maybe we have a revised standard, whatever it is. And so thinking to ourselves, should I just start over? And I think something that I would say first off is, if you think that starting over would bring you the most joy for next year, then absolutely start over, right? If you get really excited, oh, I want to go ahead and do this, I want to do this, then absolutely do that. I think if you are on the other side of the coin and you're like, I can't even fathom starting over, I can't even fathom, quote unquote, getting rid of everything that I've done. I think this is a really good opportunity to kind of step back and reflect on the connections between what you have and what you're going to have. Monty, I think you actually referenced this in a previous episode. If you have a new math curriculum, right, you're probably going to have some materials that you're going to be able to reuse. Yes, maybe this math curriculum has graphing in Unit 7 versus Unit 2, but there might be some things that you can kind of tweak and work off of instead of creating from scratch. I think also something that we can do is, when we think about starting over, at least for me, I think starting over is like a totally blank slate, right? And I think that's where the scary part comes, where it's like, oh my gosh, I'm going from so much to nothing, to that empty slate. But I think even if you're having to redo instructional videos, even if you're having to change up mastery checks, all of that, you can still reuse some of those strategies, some of those protocols that you have in place, whether that be how kiddos take their mastery check, or how they turn in work, or how you do your progress tracker. I think you can always kind of reuse some of those non-curriculum specific things as a starting off point, not only for that next year, but also as a way to kind of tell yourself, hey, I'm not actually starting over, and I can do this. Monty, any thoughts with that?
I think you summed it up very well. I'm just a crazy person who just likes creating new stuff every year. So I'm the complete opposite. I'm like, oh, I get to create all new stuff. And I think it's because I just have this really weird. So my goal in life, and I feel like I've talked about this maybe in another episode, but my goal in life is to get so good at making videos that it looks like the Amoeba Sisters or somebody. Like, I need to learn how to make doodles in my videos. So I make new videos every year because I'm just hoping that every year I think they get better. And that's why I'm okay with it. So I think I'm in the small percentage though. I'm kind of crazy. So don't be like me.
And I think, Monty, you said something really powerful in that every single year your videos get better. Like, I look back on some of the videos that I made my first year, and like they're okay, and they taught the children and everything was okay, and the kids got mastery. But I'm like, oh my God, like this is not this is not the video that I would want people to associate myself with versus how I do them now. And I think that's just because you get more comfortable. Also, a shout out to my husband that bought me a blue mic for Christmas, because my poor school computer sounds like a lawnmower as soon as you go more than like 10 minutes on it. So in the background of all of my videos, you just heard like this whirring of my laptop being like, please just let me finish my time. But I think that can be powerful too, as a point of reflection, being able to make some new videos and being able to celebrate, like, hey, not only have I gotten more comfortable with this, but wow, look at my blended instruction, look how much I've grown in that category. Awesome. You want to go ahead and take our second one on, Monty?
Yeah, so another question we get, and I think this one is, actually a really great question. It's like, I want to start planning, but I don't actually know what I will be teaching next year, because again, you might be changing grade levels or subjects, or you might be like me and you will have been in 3 different schools in 3 years. I will be at a new school next year. So once again, I am in a place where I don't actually know what I'm teaching next year, but it's okay. My biggest piece of advice for that is a couple of different things. The first piece is, I highly recommend that everybody start off with a unit 0. And if you're asking yourself right now, well, what's a unit 0? Please watch episode 1. We talk so much about unit 0. But, unit 0s are a good place to really start thinking about how you're going to design your class. This is where you start off. These are all your procedures that you want to set forth in place. And your unit 0, in my opinion, requires just as much work as a content unit. So if you don't know what you're going to be doing, I would say spend your time and resources really developing that unit 0. Start thinking about, your LMS and, how kids are going to ask questions and just all those small logistical pieces, I think, are that you might not have time to think about later on. So now would be a good time. And in addition to that, even if you don't necessarily know what grade level or subjects, if you're just, curious, I mean, I would just say, just take the time to just start, learning what you want to talk about. So whether that you'll be specifically teaching the human body, which, I never know until the year that I'm in, I do start thinking about like, how am I going to organize my videos? I try to have my videos follow a very specific format. So, I start to think about, how am I going to introduce kids? I like to hide code words in videos. So I think about, what are those code words I'm going to be hiding? And just, all those small logistical pieces that kind of connect to the unit 0, but, can connect a little bit to content specific things as well.
Yeah, Monty, I totally agree. Thinking about the non-content specific areas, so that way you can still be planning, but if you have a different grade level, if you have kind of that you can still kind of work from that. I think as well with it, first off, I just want to say that it's okay if you spend your time planning.
Yeah, let's just go ahead and move on to our next question.
That's a good idea. I have one more good idea. I'm sorry, friends. My dogs are just so into keeping up with modern classrooms today. I think it's totally okay if you don't spend your summer planning. But then I also think it's something that I mentioned in the audio room. So another plug to go ahead and listen to our audio rooms. But I think you can also just start dreaming about. I'm so sorry for everybody for all of this. You can start dreaming about what you want it to be and just kind of like keep your ideas. Give me 1 second. Right, and now she's trying to join me. So Azrae's coming, but I think it's really important, or it can be really powerful to kind of like keep a clipboard. I do a clipboard. Maybe you want to do like a digital notepad, whatever you want to do, of just ideas that you have. Because I know when I've been in this situation, I've thought like, oh, well, if I do ELA, I want to think about XYZ. Or, oh, if I end up doing science, I want to think about XYZ. And so what I like to do is I like to go ahead and write that down, whether it be for the subject, whether it be for a classroom thing, whether it be for a coaching thing, whatever it is. And I just kind of keep that in a safe place. And so that way, when I get to the time where I do know where I'm able to plan, whether it be during the summer, because I finally have, rejuvenated, whether it be when I finally find out the grade level, I can then pull up that clipboard. I can pull up that list and be like, oh yeah, remember when I had that idea? Oh yeah, remember when I had that idea? And I can kind of also go through and think, okay, I've had all of these ideas. Which ones do I want to focus on? Because I think also it can be, again, overwhelming to kind of think about it as a whole, like, oh my gosh, whole new XYZ, instead of thinking like, oh, hey, I had all of these ideas. And now that I'm looking back through them and I've had time to sit with them, these are my top 3 that I'm really going to focus on. So that would be something that I would recommend too. So that way, as the ideas come to you, you can make sure that they're kept safe. Because I think all of us have done like, I really think I thought about that, but oh, what was my idea? And so just being able to go back to those ideas. All right. And then so for our last one, a lot of times during the summer, again, you absolutely do not need to plan over the summer. You absolutely do not need to think about school over the summer if that is not what brings you joy, or over your holiday breaks or however, because of course, with us being a global community, not everybody gets summer break like Monty and I do down here. But a lot of times during a end of the school year, right, we're thinking about how can we also strengthen and refine our own teaching practices. So Monty, do you want to start this one off? How can I strengthen and refine my modern classroom and teaching practices? What are some resources that I could utilize?
Yeah, so if you're specifically looking for modern classroom, specific resources, I would say really dive into the website. The website has so many different tools, exemplar units, different assignments that you can look at, and various resources. If you're a reader, take some time to jump into some pedagogy and just reading about other things. But I think honestly, when it comes to like modern classroom specific practices, like some of it just takes practice. There are like some things that I just couldn't figure out in the beginning, and then as I've just spent more time learning about blended learning and just teaching different sets of kids, things have just it's like an epiphany moment. And so, if you find that the first year was a struggle and you're kind of like, man, this was hard and I don't know if it's for me, I would say give it some time, because sometimes this does truly take practice. Like for the most part, it's unnatural to kids to like be in a self-paced environment. It's unnatural to our administrators to see us in a self-paced environment. It might be feel unnatural to you because you're used to being the like fountain of knowledge, the person in charge. And switching to a modern classroom really does take some refining of thinking. And so I would say give yourself some grace and definitely think about the parts that you want to be different. But if it's not coming as quickly as you would like, reach out to those around you, people in your school, our amazing Facebook group. If you're one of our mentorship people, Slack. Those of you in the Summer Institute, the Educator Commons. There's just so many places where you can get feedback and help. And I think 99% of people are willing to help. So just reach out to those around you if you can.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think as well, we've talked a lot about being intentional and about kind of like thinking about, instead of looking over it as a whole, really thinking about like, what's that part, what's that piece? And I think that's where going back to the free course can be great. Remember, our free course is accessible at learn.modernclassrooms.org. But being able, if you're like, hey, I really want to go ahead and think through my pacing tracker again, I'm definitely somebody, and we know that this has been backed by research too, in terms of our instructional videos, right? Like sometimes I need to just hear something, look at something, process something a couple of different times, right? That's why we have those powerful instructional videos that kiddos could pause, rewind, and all learners can go ahead and process that information as many times as they need. And so I think going back into the free course and accessing that information as they need can also be very powerful. Another option always is for if you're interested in looking into the mentorship, which is definitely one of our ways that you can definitely strengthen and refine your modern classroom teaching practices. I do believe at the time of this recording, it might not have any more, but we might still have some VSI opportunities. And of course, we always have school year mentorship as well. If you're ever interested in that school year mentorship or in the virtual mentorship period, again, look at that website that Monty referenced, which is at modernclassrooms.org. All right, Monty, I believe that is season 1 in a nutshell. What do you think?
Feels weird that we've done this many episodes. So, and we would love, feedback to know if this is something that, people are enjoying. So
yeah, absolutely. Definitely give us feedback in the group. We're always looking for that. And we just thank you guys so much for joining today and supporting us over the last year as we've tweaked and made changes to the Facebook group and as we've been able to welcome so many community members. We will be taking a short summer sabbatical as we get to support our amazing Virtual Summer Institute community. And we will return with season 2 back and better than ever in August 2022.
And as always, change the world one lesson at a time. Have a great summer, everyone.
We'll see you in August.